All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of technology that could completely reshape how we communicate online. It's called DIDComm, and it's all about secure, private, and truly decentralized interaction. So, let's dive right in.
But first, before we get into the weeds, let's start with a really simple question. Who really owns your digital identity? Now, you probably think the answer is, I do. But with the way the internet is built today, well, it's a lot more complicated than that.
And this slide really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got what we can call rented identities. I mean, think about it. Your email address, your social media handle, even your phone number. These are all controlled by big corporations. They can be suspended, deleted. They're not really yours. But on the other side is a totally new way of thinking, an owned identity. This is built on something called Decentralized Identifiers, or DIDs. And this is an identity that you and you alone are in complete control of.
So this whole dependency on rented identities, it brings us to the core problem we're facing today. The internet has a massive identity crisis, and it's not just an inconvenience. Our current setup has some really deep, fundamental flaws. Just think about it for a second. Our communication is wide open to surveillance because it all flows through these huge central servers. And those servers, they're single points of failure. If they go down, the whole service just stops. And because our digital lives are tied to these separate services, we don't have a single, lasting identity that we can take with us across the web. We are totally 100% dependent on these companies.
So how do we possibly fix this mess? Well, this is where DIDComm comes in. It's a protocol designed from the ground up for what you might call sovereign communication, a way for us to finally take back control.
So what is DIDComm, really? At its heart, it's a messaging protocol that uses those decentralized identifiers we talked about. And the truly game-changing part is how it completely separates your identity from how you communicate. This means your identity is no longer chained to a specific app like Gmail or WhatsApp. You can communicate over any channel you want, HTTP, Bluetooth, you name it, without ever giving up your security or your control.
This whole new approach is built on 4 really important ideas. First, it's decentralized, which means no single company can control it, censor it, or shut it down. It's built for privacy, using strong encryption that hides not just your messages, but also all the metadata, the who, when, and where of your conversation. It's interoperable, so it's designed to work across all sorts of different platforms and apps. And finally, it's agent-centric. Think of this like having your own little digital assistant that handles all the complicated security stuff for you, making it all feel seamless.
Okay, that all sounds pretty great in theory. But how does this thing actually work? Well, the core idea is surprisingly simple, and we can explain it with a cool analogy: the magic envelope.
See, at its heart, DIDComm is all about wrapping messages in these super secure encrypted envelopes. This makes sure that only the person it's meant for can open it and that nobody, absolutely nobody, has messed with it on its journey. It's basically a digital seal of trust.
And what's really cool is how flexible this system is. You've got 2 main ways to seal that envelope. There's authcrypt, where the sender cryptographically proves who they are, perfect for things like official business. But then you can also use a nanocrypt, which completely hides the sender's identity, giving you this incredible layer of confidentiality whenever you need it.
But what happens if the person you're messaging isn't online? Well, DIDComm has a really clever solution for that, called onion routing. So imagine Alice wants to send a message to Bob, but his phone is off. First, she seals her message so only Bob can read it. Then she wraps that sealed message inside another envelope, but this one is addressed to Carl, who's Bob's always-on helper agent. Carl gets the package, opens only the outer layer, and sees a request to forward the inner package to Bob. The next time Bob's phone connects, Carl delivers it, and here's the magic part. Carl never, ever sees the actual message meant for Bob.
So that little story introduces the key players in the network. The edge agent is the app on your phone, that's Alice and Bob. Since it might go offline, it needs help from a mediator agent, that was Carl in our story. The mediator's whole job is just to be online all the time to route and forward messages. It's this teamwork that guarantees your messages always get through securely and privately.
All right, so we've talked a lot about what DIDComm is. Now for the big question. How does it actually stack up against the secure messengers that we all use every single day?
You know, this comparison is incredibly revealing. You take something like Signal. It has amazing security, but it's totally centralized. Your identity is your phone number, and everything runs through Signal's servers. Then you have Matrix, which is federated. That's a step in the right direction, but you still have to trust a server admin. DIDComm, though, that's a whole different ballgame.
It is the only one here that's fully decentralized. Your identity is your own self-sovereign DID, and trust is handled directly between you and the person you're talking to. No middleman.
So here's the bottom line. DIDComm is aiming to give us that gold standard security you get from an app like Signal, but on a framework that is truly decentralized. It protects your metadata, that who, when, and where stuff, way better than even federated systems can. It really is the next evolution in private communication.
And you know, this is about so much more than just messaging. This is really about building the foundation for a more sovereign, user-controlled internet.
And this protocol isn't some brand new, untested idea. It's been maturing really fast. Version 1 was kind of clunky. It required this whole multi-step dance just to connect. But version 2, which is now standardized, is way slicker. It allows for what's called zero round-trip connections, so you can set up a secure channel instantly, and the community is already looking ahead to version 3 with the goal of getting it standardized by the IETF. That's the same group that standardizes the core protocols of the internet itself. Now, of course, the road to this decentralized future isn't without a few bumps. Getting all the different software versions to talk to each other perfectly is a constant challenge. There's the huge, looming threat of quantum computers that could break today's encryption, and, let's be honest, it's a complex new world for developers to get used to, and it still needs to really break into the mainstream.
But even with those challenges, the vision here is it's powerful. DIDComm isn't just another messaging app. It is the architectural blueprint for a more private, a more resilient, and a more equitable internet. It's about rebuilding the web to finally put power back in the hands of the individual.
Which leaves us with one last big question. For decades, we've basically been tenants on an internet owned and operated by a handful of giants. This technology offers us a real path to ownership. So the question is, are we ready for an internet where we are all first-class citizens?